Okay, now we continue with our second part, the part 2 in chapter 10. Okay, after we have discussed about a few factors that affecting collusion in the pricing games. Okay, so we continue with our uh, discussion in this part. Okay, the application of infinitely repeated games to product quality. To product quality. So the theory of infinitely repeated game can be used to analyze the desirability of firms' policies such as warranties and guarantees. So effectively, a game occurs between consumers and firms. So consumers desire durable, high quality product at a low price, while firm wish to maximize profit. So in a one-shot game, any profit made by a firm must be made today. So there is no prospect for repeat business. So thus, in one-shot game, a firm may have an incentive to sell shoddy products. So this is particularly true if consumer cannot determine the quality of the product prior to purchase. So to see this, consider the normal form game. Consider the normal form game in this table. Okay, table 10(8), right? So here the game is between a consumer and a firm. A consumer and a firm. Okay, so the consumer has two strategies. Okay, buy the product or don't buy it. Okay, the firm can produce a low quality product or a high quality product. So in a one shot play of the game, the Nash equilibrium strategy is for the firm to produce a low quality product and for consumer to shun the product. So to see this, not that if the consumer decided to buy the product, so the firm would benefit by selling a low quality product since profit of 10 are better than the one. So each would earn by producing a high quality product. So given a low quality product, the consumer chooses not to buy since 0 is better than losing 10 by purchasing a shoddy product. So but since the consumer chooses not to buy, so it does not pay for the firm to produce a high quality product. So in a one short game, the consumer chooses not to buy the product because he or she knows that the firm will take the money and run. So the story differ if game is infinitely repeated. So suppose the consumer tells the firm, I buy your product and will continue to buy it if it is a good quality. But if it's turned out to be shoddy, I'll tell all my friends never to purchase anything from you again. So given this strategy by the consumer, what is the best thing for the firms to do? So if interest rate is not too high, the best alternative is to sell a high quality product. The reason is simple. By selling a shoddy product, the firm earns in $10, 10 instead of 1 that period. That is in effect the gain to cheating, selling a poor quality product. Okay. So the cost of selling a shoddy product, however, is to earn 0 forever after, as the firm reputation is ruined by having sold such a product. So when the interest rate is low, the one-time gain will be more than offset by the lost future sale. Okay? So it will not pay for the firm to cheat by selling shoddy merchandise. Okay. So the lesson to be drawn from this example is twofold. Okay. First, if your firm desire to be a going concern, that is infinitely live, it does not pay to cheat. So consumer, if the one-time gain is more than offset by lost future sale. So notice that this is true even if your firm cannot be sued or if there are no government regulation against selling shoddy merchandise. Second, you should recognize that any production process is likely to have bad runs in which some low quality product are produced out of honest error. So notice in this example that even if the firm tried to produce high quality merchandise, but due to an inadvertent error, so one unit was defective. That error could ruin the firm. So to guard against this, many firms offer guarantees that the product will be of high quality. Offer the guarantee to make sure that they have a very good quality. So that way, if an error occur in production, the consumer can obtain a new item, be satisfied and not punish the firm by spreading the news that it sells shoddy merchandise. Okay. So far, we have considered two extreme games that are played only once and games that are played infinitely many times. So this section summarizes important application of games that are repeated a finite numbers of games. That is games that eventually end. So we will consider two classes of finitely repeated games. The first one is a game in which player does not know when the game will end, and the second is a game in which player know when it will end. Okay. So suppose two duopolists repeated play the pricing game in this table. Okay. Table 10:9. Okay. So until their product become obsolete, at which point the game ends. So thus we are considering a finite repeated games. So suppose the firms do not know the exact date of which their product will become absolute. So thus there is uncertainty regarding the final period in which the game will be played. So suppose the probability that the game will end after a given play is theta. So where 0 is lower than theta and theta lower than 1. So that's when a firm makes today pricing decision, there is a chance that the game will be played again tomorrow. Okay. So it turned out that when there is an uncertainty regarding precisely when the game will end, so the finite repeated game in table 10:9 exactly mirror our analysis of infinitely repeated game. To see why, suppose the firm adapt trigger strategies whereby each agrees to charge a high price provided the other has not charged a low price in any previous period. So if a firm deviate by charging a low price, so the other firm will punish it by charging a low price until the game ends. So for simplicity, let us assume the interest rate is 0. So that's the firm do not discount future profit. So given such trigger strategies, does firm A have an incentive to cheat by charging a low price? So if A cheat by charging a low price, but when B charge in high price, so A profit are 50. A profit are 50 today, but 0 in all remaining period of game. So this is because cheating today trigger firm B to charge a low price to charge a low price, okay, in all future period. So and the best A can do in this period is to earn zero. Thus, if firm cheats today, it's earn 50. Okay. So now suppose a game is repeated some non-finite number of time. For simplicity, we will suppose the game in this table 10, 11 is repeated 2 times. Okay. However, the argument that follow apply even when a game is repeated a larger number of times. Say maybe 1,000 times. So, provided the player know precisely when the game will end, and the game has only one Nash equilibrium. So the important thing about the repeating the game in table 10, 11 2 times is that in the second play of the game there is no tomorrow. So and thus each firm has an incentive to use the same strategy during the period and that it would use in one short version of the game. So since there is no possibility of playing the game in the third period, the player cannot punish their rival but for action it takes in the second period. For this game, this implies that each player will charge a low price in this period 2, even if firm B thought firm A would cooperate by charging a high price during the second period. So A would maximize its profit by charging a low price during the last period. Okay? So there is nothing B could do in the future to punish A for doing so. In fact, A would be very happy if B charged in a high price in the second period. If it did, A could charge a low price and earn profit of $50. So an alternative class game of this an alternative class of game is called a multi-stage game. Multi-stage game. So multi-stage game differ from the class of game as mentioned earlier. In that timing is very important. In particular, the multi-stage framework permit player to make sequential rather than simultaneous decision. Simultaneous decision. So to understand how that multi-stage differ from one-shot and infinitely repeated game, it is useful to introduce the extensive form of game. An extensive form games summarize who the player are and the information available to a player at each stage of the game. The strategies available to the players and order of the move of the game and payoff that's result from the alternative strategy. Okay, so once again the best way to understand the extensive form representation of a game is by way of example from this figure. You can see, okay, depict the extensive form of a game, right? So the circle are called the decision knot. The decision knot. Okay, and each circle indicate that the stage of the game, particular player must choose a move. So the single point denote A. Okay, that's the single point denote A. Okay, here. So that's the single point at which all the line originate is the beginning of the game. So the number at the end of the branches represent the payoff at the end of the game. For example, in this game, player A move first. So A's feasible strategy are up or down. Okay, up or down. So once player A move, it is player B's turn. Okay, now that's a player B turn. Okay, so player B must then decide whether to move up or down. Whether to move up or down. If both player move up, so player A receive a payoff of 10 10 and player B receive a payoff of 15. Okay. So if player A move up and player B move down, so that's you can see both player receive a payoff of 5. So that's the first player, the first number in parenthesis reflect the payoff to player A. So the first mover, that's what we call as the first mover in the game. So while the second number refer to the payoff to player B, the second mover. So as in simultaneous move game, each player payoff depend not only on his or her action but on the action of the other player as well. So for example, if player A move down and player B move up, player B move A move down and player B move up, so the resulting payoff for A is 0. But if player B move down, okay, and that's when player A move down, so A receive 6. So that there is however an important difference between the sequential move game depicted in earlier figure and the simultaneous move game as in the previous section. So since player A must make a decision before player B, so A cannot make the action conditional on what B does. Okay, so that's A can choose only up or down. In contrast, B gets to make a decision after A. Okay, consequently, a strategy for player B will specify on action for both of his decision nodes. So if player A choose up, player B can choose either up or down. If A choose down, B can choose either up or down. So that's one example of a strategy for B is to choose up if A choose up and down if A chooses down. So notice that players B strategy is allowed to depend on what player A has done, since this is sequential move game and B move second. In contrast, there is no conditional if in player A strategy. So to illustrate how strategies work in sequential move games, suppose players B strategy is chosen down if player A chooses up, and down if player A chooses down. So given this strategy, what is the best choice of A? So if A choose up, she earn maybe 5 since B will choose, okay, earning 5 and 6. So player A prefer B and therefore will choose down. So given that player A chooses down, does player B have an incentive to change his strategy? So B strategy specifies that he chooses down if A chooses down. So by choosing down, B will earn 20, where he earned 0 by choosing up. So we thus see that player B has no incentive to change his strategy, even that player A choose down. Okay. So to illustrate the use of the theory of multi-stage game in a market setting, consider the extensive form game presented in earlier table. Okay, here you can see in this entry game figure. That's entry game figure, right? See, so here firm B is an existing firm in the market, and firm A is a potential entrant. Okay, firm A is a potential entrance. So firm A must decide whether to enter the market in or stay out. So if a decide to stay out of the market, firm B continues its existing behavior and earn profit of $10 million. So while A earn zero. But if A decide to enter the market, B must decide whether to engage in a price war, that means hard, or to simply share the market, that means soft. So by choosing hard, firm B ensure that firms A incurs a loss of $1 million. So but B makes only $1 million in profit. So on the other hand, if firm B choose soft after A enter, A take half of the market and each firm earn profit of $5 million. So it turned out that there are two Nash Equilibria for this game. So the first occur where firm B threaten to choose hard if A enter the market, and thus A stay out of the market. To see that this strategy indeed comprise a Nash equilibrium, not the following, given that B strategy is to choose hard if firm A enter. So A best choice is not to enter, given that A doesn't enter. B may as well threaten to choose hard if A enter. So thus neither firm has incentive to change its strategy. Firm A earn zero and firm B earn profit of $10 million. Then this our analysis of the entry game reveal an important lesson for future manager. In it does not pay to hit threats by met by rival when the threats are not credible. So we can also use the theory of sequential or multi-stage games to analyze innovation decision as the next problem. So the final application of multi-stage games that we will consider is a sequential move bargaining. So sequential move bargaining game, right? Specifically, suppose a firm and a labor union are engaged in negotiation over how much of 100 millions surplus will go to the union and how much will go to management. So suppose management, denote as M here, right? Move first by offering amount to the union, U. So given the offer, right? So given the offer, the union gets to decide to accept or reject the offer. So if the offer is rejected, neither party receive anything. If the offer is accepted, the union gets the amount specified there, and management gets the residual. To simplify matters, suppose management can offer the union one of three amount, let's say 150 or 99. So the extensive form of this game is depicted in here, in this figure. Notice that the union gets to make a decision after it's learned of management offer. So for instance, if management offer the union one, let's say 1 million, 1 million, and union accept the offer, so management gets 99 and the union gets 1. So if union reject the offer, both party get 0. Both party get 0, right? So suppose you are management and the union makes the following statement to you before you make an offer. Let's say the statement say give us 99 or else we will reject the offer. So what should you do? So if you believe the union, then if your offer is a lower amount, so it would reject the offer and you would get nothing. So given the union strategy, your best choice is to get the union 99, since that action give you a payoff of 1 instead of 0. And given that you offer the union 99, its best choice is to accept the offer. Thus, one Nash equilibrium outcome of this sequential bargaining process yield $1 for management and for $99 for the union. So does this mean that the optimal action for management is to give the union 99? So the answer, of course, no. So that notice that this equilibrium is supported by a union threat that is not credible. So according to the union, if management offer the union once $1, the union will reject the offer. But by rejecting such an offer, the union will earn 0 instead of 1. It could earn by accepting it. Thus, it is not in the union best interest to reject the offer. So in fact, the unique sub-game perfect equilibrium for this sequential bargaining game is for management to offer the union $1 and for the union to accept the offer. To see this, notice that if management offer the union $1, the union best choice would be to accept, since $1 is preferred to the $0. It would earn by rejecting the offer. So in this sequential move bargaining game, the unique sub-game perfect equilibrium result in management getting $99 and union getting $1. So this section has illustrated the remarkable feature of two-stage sequential bargaining games. Effectively, the first mover in the bargaining game makes a take it or leave it offer. The second mover can accept the offer or reject it and receive nothing. And the player making the take it or leave it offer extract virtually all the amount bargained over. So the following example illustrate this principle. So after we discuss all of this example, that means this chapter open with the study of Nash equilibrium in one shot simultaneous move games. So we learned that the resulting payoff are sometimes lower than would arise if player colluded. So the reason higher payoff cannot be achieved in one shot games is that each participant has an incentive to cheat on a collusive agreement. So in many games, so what primarily motivates a firm to cheat is the fact that cheating is a dominant strategy. So dominant strategies, when they exist, determine the optimal decision in a one-shot game. In a one-shot game. So we also examine a solution to games that are infinitely repeated. So the use of trigger strategies in these games enable players to enter and enforce collusive agreement when the interest rate is low. So by adopting strategies that punish cheaters over a long period of time, collusive agreement can be self-enforcing when the game is infinitely repeated. So other factors that affect collusion are the number of firms. So the history in the market, the ability of firms to monitor one another behavior, and the ability to punish cheaters. So similar feature of repeated interaction also help consumer and businesses continue trading with each other and keep product quality high. So finally, we covered finally repeated game with both uncertain and non-terminal period, as well as sequential move entry and bargaining games. When interaction among parties is for a non-time period, problem with cheating in the last period can unravel cooperative agreement that would have been supported by trigger strategies in infinitely repeated game or games with an uncertain endpoint. So in sequential move games, one must determine whether the threat to induce a particular outcome in the game are credible. Okay, so up until now uh, okay, for this chapter, that's all for chapter number 10. Okay, so see you again. Thank you very much.